Picture this moment. You walk into a store for printer ink. 15 minutes later, you're standing at the register with the ink, a decorative candle, kitchen towels you didn't need, and some gourmet coffee beans. Sound familiar? Here's what makes this fascinating. You didn't wake up planning to buy those extra items, yet there you stand, wallet open, telling yourself these purchases make perfect sense. I've studied consumer behavior for over 2 decades now. What I've learned would surprise you. The biggest threat to your financial security isn't the car you drive or the mortgage you carry. It's the accumulation of small emotional purchases that provide zero lasting value. Today, we're examining what I call the zero value purchase trap. More importantly, I'll share a simple 5-second technique that can transform your spending habits forever. Let me be direct. You've probably lost thousands of dollars this year already, not to medical emergencies or car repairs, to purchases you can barely remember making. Let's start with some uncomfortable truth. Research published in the journal Frontiers in Psychology reveals something startling. Impulse purchases represent between 40 and 80% of all purchases consumers make. Think about that percentage. Nearly half of everything you buy wasn't planned. But here's where it gets interesting. According to studies from behavioral economists, these purchases occur when there's a sudden, strong emotional desire arising from reactive behavior characterized by low cognitive control. Translation? Your emotions hijack your decision-making before your rational brain can intervene? I remember interviewing someone, let's call her Patricia, for my research. Patricia earned $85,000 annually. Good income, right? Yet she couldn't explain where her money went each month. We tracked her spending together for 30 days. The results shocked her. Patricia spent $340 on unplanned purchases. Not one single item cost over $25. Coffee, drinks, discount clothing she never wore, home decor items still in bags, subscription boxes she forgot to cancel, small amounts, zero lasting value. What drives this behavior? Scientists have identified something crucial. The tendency to buy spontaneously and without reflection can be explained by the immediate gratification it provides. Your brain releases dopamine, that feel-good chemical, when you make purchases. It's the same response you'd get from winning a small prize, but there's a darker side. Recent studies during challenging economic periods found something disturbing. People reported making more impulse purchases during times of uncertainty and psychological pressure. When you're stressed, anxious, or feeling uncertain about the future, your brain seeks comfort. Shopping provides temporary relief. The problem, that relief evaporates quickly. The anxiety returns. The financial stress actually increases. Now, let's define this trap precisely. A zero-value purchase is anything you buy that provides temporary emotional satisfaction but contributes nothing to your long-term well-being or financial security. Notice I said temporary. These purchases feel good for minutes, maybe hours. Then they disappear into the background of your life. I've identified 5 categories that drain most people's wealth. First, convenience purchases. That's $6 coffee instead of the 2 option. Take-out food when your refrigerator holds perfectly good groceries. Expedited shipping for items you don't need urgently. Second, emotional compensation purchases. You had a difficult day. You deserve something nice. That reasoning costs you dearly. Studies show that anxiety influences the generation of harmful buying behavior, as it has a positive impact on compulsive and impulsive buying. Third, social comparison purchases. Your neighbor bought a new patio set. Your colleague showed up with designer handbags. Suddenly, your perfectly functional items seem inadequate. Fourth, digital trap purchases. Research on online shopping reveals that individuals who frequently engage with social media and online shopping platforms are more susceptible to buying behavior, leading to impulsive spending and reduced decision-making rationality. Those targeted ads aren't random. They're designed to exploit your psychological vulnerabilities. Fifth, promotional pressure purchases. Limited time offers, flash sales, only 3 left in stock. These create artificial urgency. Time pressure is a crucial factor that influences impulsive buying behavior, causing you to bypass rational evaluation. Your brain wasn't designed for modern consumer culture. Let me explain this carefully. For most of human history, resources were genuinely scarce. When our ancestors found food or useful items, immediate consumption made evolutionary sense. Delay might mean losing the opportunity entirely. That programming still exists in your brain today. Behavioral economists call this hyperbolic discounting. People tend to opt for smaller immediate rewards over larger delayed rewards. Your brain literally values something you can have right now more than something objectively better you could have later. There's another mechanism at work too. Richard Thaler won the Nobel Prize for documenting something called mental accounting. Here's how it works. Many small routine expenses are not booked. Examples include lunch or coffee at the workplace cafeteria. Ignoring such items is equivalent to assigning small expenditures to a petty cash fund, not subject to usual accounting scrutiny. You treat small purchases as essentially free. They don't register psychologically the same way a $500 purchase would. Your brain doesn't add them up. It dismisses each individual purchase as inconsequential. I witnessed this firsthand with someone I interviewed. Call him Robert. Robert insisted he was financially responsible. He tracked major expenses meticulously, yet he couldn't explain why his checking account stayed near zero. We implemented what I call receipt consciousness for 1 week. Robert kept every single receipt, gas station snacks, convenience store drinks, app store purchases, everything. At week's end, Robert had spent $187 on items he couldn't recall purchasing. His face went pale when we calculated the annual impact, nearly $10,000 disappearing into forgotten purchases. I had no idea, he kept repeating. That's the insidious nature of the zero value trap. It operates below your conscious awareness. Now we arrive at the solution. I developed this technique after interviewing hundreds of people who successfully escaped the spending trap. I call it the 5-second joy check. It's brutally simple. That's why it works. Before any non-essential purchase, you pause. Just 5 seconds. You ask yourself 3 specific questions. Question 1. Will this matter 1 week from now? Be ruthlessly honest. Most purchases won't. That decorative pillow, specialty snack, impulse clothing item in 7 days. You won't remember you bought it. If the answer is no, you've identified a zero-value purchase. Question 2, am I buying this to solve a problem or to feel something? This distinction changes everything. Buying printer ink solves a problem. Buying scented candles makes you feel something temporarily. There's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good, but recognize you're seeking an emotional transaction, not meeting a genuine need. Question 3, what else could this money accomplish? This invokes opportunity cost thinking. That $25 decorative item represents money that could reduce debt, build emergency savings, or fund something you genuinely value. Every purchase represents a choice between competing priorities. Here's how it works in practice. You're in Target. You came for laundry detergent. Now you're holding a throw blanket priced at $35. Stop. 5 seconds. Will this matter next week? Probably not. You already own blankets. Am I solving a problem or feeling something? You're feeling cozy and domestic. The blanket won't actually change your life. What else could this money do? It could go toward that vacation fund you keep saying you'll start, or reduce your credit card balance. You replace the blanket, you leave with detergent, that's $35 saved. Multiply that decision 5 times monthly, and you've saved $175. That's $2,100 annually. Over 20 years invested conservatively, that's over $90,001. Blanket dozens of similar decisions, life-changing amounts of money. Let's make this practical immediately. Start with the 24-hour rule for purchases over $50. Nothing over $50 gets purchased the same day you see it. You wait 1 full day. If you still want it tomorrow, you can reconsider. Research shows most impulse desires fade within hours. You're simply letting your emotional response cool. Second, track 3 days of spending. Don't change your behavior, just observe it. Write down every purchase, every coffee, magazine, app purchase, everything. You'll be shocked by what you discover about your patterns. Third, create friction for online shopping. Remove saved payment information from websites, delete shopping apps from your phone, make purchasing slightly harder. Studies on consumer behavior demonstrate that website design, ease of payment, and real-time notifications contribute to impulse buying tendencies by reducing cognitive deliberation. You're reversing that design. Fourth, institute a 1-in, 1-out rule. Before buying anything new, you must donate or discard one similar item you already own. This forces you to confront how much you already possess. Most people discover they own multiples of things they rarely use. Fifth, schedule your emotional spending. This sounds counterintuitive, but it works brilliantly. Allocate a specific amount weekly, say $25, for pure emotional purchases. No judgment, no guilt. When that money's spent, you're done until next week. This satisfies your brain's desire for occasional indulgence while maintaining overall control. Let me share what happened with someone I worked with. Call her Margaret. Margaret was 58, divorced, earning $72,000 annually. She had $3,400 in savings and $18,000 in credit card debt. Margaret implemented the 5-second joy check religiously. Within 3 months, she'd reduced her discretionary spending by 60%. That's not deprivation. She simply stopped buying things that didn't matter. 1 year later, Margaret had paid off $9,000 in debt. Her savings account held $8,200. She reported feeling less stressed, more in control, and genuinely happier than when she was spending freely. The irony didn't escape her. Buying less made her happier than buying more ever had. Here's what nobody tells you about changing spending habits. It's not really about money. It's about identity. Every purchase you make is a small vote for the person you're becoming. Zero-value purchases represent votes for a scattered, reactive version of yourself. Intentional purchases represent votes for a purposeful, controlled version. Research into consumer psychology reveals something profound. Impulsive buying can be reframed as a socially embedded, identity-driven act rather than an act of irrationality. You're not weak or stupid for impulse spending. You're responding to sophisticated marketing designed to exploit natural human psychology. But you can choose differently. When you pause for 5 seconds before purchasing, you're creating space between stimulus and response. That's where freedom lives. That's where wealth accumulates. That's where genuine satisfaction emerges. I've watched this transformation hundreds of times. People start using the joy check for financial reasons. They continue using it because it fundamentally changes how they experience life. They stop seeking happiness in shopping bags. They find it in financial security, in goal achievement, in the calm confidence that comes from controlling your money instead of letting it control you. One person I interviewed said something I'll never forget. I used to think buying things made me happy. Now I realize I was buying things because I wasn't happy. Once I stopped, I had to figure out what actually brought me joy. That changed everything. Let's bring this home. The zero-value purchase trap isn't about occasional splurges. It's about the accumulated weight of hundreds of small decisions that drain your resources while providing nothing lasting in return. The 5-second joy check gives you a tool to escape that trap. 3 questions, 5 seconds, infinite financial impact. Will this matter next week? Am I solving a problem or feeling something? What else could this money accomplish? Starting today, you can transform your relationship with money, not through complicated budgets or extreme deprivation. Through simple awareness applied consistently, your future self is watching you right now. Every time you pause before purchasing, you're sending that future version of yourself a gift. Security, options, freedom, that's worth 5 seconds of your time. The question isn't whether you can afford this purchase. The question is whether this purchase moves you toward the life you're trying to build. Answer honestly, act accordingly. Your financial future depends on it.